Well, hello. I just finished editing this episode with Jack Steward, who is host of a YouTube channel called Tiny Cabin Life. Jack shares an honest recount of an experience he had in Death Valley when he was going through depression at the age of 24, when at the same time he was co-host of an Emmy-Award winning show on ABC. And he shares how that experience has literally lifted him out of his depression and also made a major shift in his life path. And he also shares some beautiful advice to follow our passions like he did, with gusto and courage. And it was such an honor to spend this time with Jack. I know you will love this episode.
So welcome, everybody. Today we have with us Jack Steward, and what a treat we have. Let me tell you a little bit about Jack. He's an adventurer and storyteller with a passion for bringing nature to life through TV. He's an Emmy award-winning television host and producer and creator of the YouTube channel Tiny Cabin Life. So welcome to this podcast, Jack.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to share and to be here with you.
Oh, I am so grateful. I discovered your YouTube channel probably back in January, February, and I was so taken with well, first of all, beautiful production. I mean, incredible cinematography and your story, the way you unfold the story of this, several day experience out in nature. And you just kind of really captivate and bring the audience into it. I was just, every show is this beautiful little gem.
Thank you
But,
so much.
but what I want to say is that it's really incredible because these little shows are packed with just a message of authenticity, and I think really strike a chord with people probably now more than ever before, because it just brings us back to what's really important. Would you agree?
That's certainly what I try to do. My YouTube channel is an extension of what I've been doing essentially my whole life. I've always had a passion for nature, just being out in the natural world because of how it made me feel. I've always been drawn to the mountains and the woods and the desert and everything because once I get out there, yeah, you really soak in what's most important in life. A lot of the times when I go out into the wilderness or whatever, I'm making incredible memories with the people I'm there with. I'm learning more about myself. I'm connecting with God. I'm connecting with the world around me and living a lot simpler than we do in our everyday lives. And so, what I think I try to do with my YouTube channel is really bring people into these spaces, these incredible places, and allow them to have that escape for 20 to 30 minutes. I really work to try to let the surroundings, let the environment do the talking as much as possible. I do a lot of talking in it, but I really try to showcase these places and allow them to connect with the viewer. And so that's where like the cinematography comes into play. Like I really enjoy finding the little details out there, from the big grand landscapes to the little details of the leaves on the trees blowing, or of course the wildlife that's there, or what's happening in the water. Maybe there's little insects that are on the water moving around. And so really what I try to do is give people a moment to take a deep breath and just sort of just be and soak in the inspiration that I receive when I'm out there.
Yeah, I find that it's a wonderful way for me to kind of end the day by popping on one of your shows, because it just kind of helps me relax, get into a more meditative state. The sound of your voice is just so calming and peaceful. And Yeah, like I said, the arc of the story that you craft it's like being read a beautiful little, bedtime story.
Oh, I appreciate that. No, I love that, and I've always wanted to do something powerful, or something fulfilling and powerful with my life and what I enjoy, which is storytelling and being out in nature. And it's always adapt. I'm always adapting and changing, but I'm really happy with where I've landed right now, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been very fulfilling to me, and I'm so happy, to see other people feel that way as well.
Great. So I can imagine your childhood. You grew up in Minnesota, correct?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your connection to nature as a child.
Yeah. So growing up in Minnesota, everyone does stuff outside, especially during the summer, but also in the winter time. A lot of people here have cabins and things like that because there's fewer people up north, so a lot more people have access to things like that. And we had a family cabin. We still have the family cabin. It actually dates back, the original family cabin, to 1936. I think it was my great grandpa and somebody else built it. He had somebody help him build it. And that cabin has been in our family for generations at this point. And so I grew up going up to that cabin, and that really first instilled that foundation of just the love of nature and simple living. Going up there, it's just different. You're surrounded by the pine trees and the lakes and all of that, and spending this quality time with family. And I just loved that. I loved everything about it, and it just really captivated me. But things took a major shift then as well. The first time my parents brought us out west to Yellowstone National Park in the Grand Tetons, I remember we drove in and we got in at night, so it was already pitch black, and we were staying in this condo. So we went in, went to sleep. I woke up the next morning, I stepped outside, and we were in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and just the mountains were towering above us. And I just remember this feeling of just wow. And what I know it to be now is just this immense feeling of awe and wonder. And from there, I was just captivated by the mountains, and knew that I liked being in these places. And so on that specific trip, that first trip, I remember saying, like, I'm going to climb up this mountain. And it's funny, my dad actually has this on camera. I've loaded up a little backpack, and I was bringing my brother and sister along with me. And I just headed out of our condo, and I was like, I'm going to climb up this mountain. And so I started making my way up it. And then I realized quickly, like, but I was 7 years old. Like, I was young.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I realized, like, oh, it's not that simple, because I was like bushwhacking through like the brush and stuff. And my dad was like, if you want to climb this mountain, let's do it tomorrow. There's a trail over here, blah, blah, blah. And so then we did that. We hiked up to the top of the ski hill in Jackson Hole, which is actually like a 7-mile hike. It's a lot of elevation gain. That was crazy for a pretty young kid to do. And so we did that, and I loved it. And that became a tradition. Every single time we would go out there, we would hike up there. And there was also something that was really like, that just made me feel very proud at the fact that we were up. There's a tram that takes you up to the top of that mountain, like a tramway, that we were seeing all these people taking the tram, but we had walked up there. And so there was something just really that felt good about that. And that's something I carry on to this day as well. Like, it's not just the peace and the simplicity and all of that, but there's a true sense of accomplishment when you get out and you push your boundaries, you push yourself out of your comfort zone, and you do something that you didn't realize you could do. And so that's another aspect, I think, of nature that really draws me in. And so all of that together, really, that was it. I was hooked. My brother and sister, they love it too, but there was something different with me. I just really was drawn into this lifestyle, and from there it was just, the rest is history. I knew I wanted to go to college out in the mountains, so I ended up going to the University of Montana. From there, I did a lot of things that led me professionally to doing what I'm doing now. And yeah, I mean, I go camping and on adventures on a weekly basis. And I was talking to my wife about this. I was just having like a moment of reflection. I was just thinking like, man, you know, I do this every single week. It's very, very awesome, but it's also very challenging too. Very early mornings, very late nights, a lot of travel, a lot of work, shooting, editing. And I just realized, I do this on a weekly basis. I've been doing this for so long. I could not do this if I didn't love it. I really could not do this. Like, I don't think a lot of people could camp, like legitimately like camp out on a weekly basis. I mean, people love camping. Like a lot, I would say everyone to some degree loves camping, but man, yeah, to do it every single week, year after year after year, like that's a lot of camping. And so I think that just kind of highlights I just was hooked and really captivated by this. And it's carried into where I'm at today.
Oh, you could tell your love of it, your passion for it. And I'm just envisioning little Jack with this little backpack, like, I'm going to climb that mountain.
There's a really funny shot of me at an overlook. I just go, "Hello, America." I'm just this like little kid. It's hilarious, but
Oh my gosh. It is so precious, these experiences in childhood. I just love to hear how people have these experiences that are like a foreshadowing of what they're really meant to do.
yeah, and I love that I get to do that now with my daughter, who is just over 2 years old, and she's already captivated, which is so cool. And man, I love bringing her out.
Yeah, I think you brought her out. I think you were telling me she was a couple of months old and you took her out on like a hike.
Oh, the first time she went to one of our cabins, she was only a couple weeks old, and
Oh
then
my gosh.
yeah, and then her first camp out, she was like 3.5 weeks old. So yeah, like a month maybe. So she's
Wow.
been doing it since the very beginning.
Wow. It'll be exciting to see what she eventually
Yeah,
does. That is
for sure.
so cool. That is so cool. And I'm a recent grandmother for the first time. So
Congrats.
my grandson is 2.5 months. So I can't wait to, introduce him more to the outdoors. But it's
Yeah.
certainly not going to be a weekly camp.
Yeah, it's so that's something too, like just to give insight into the channel. I love it. One of the things that I love having my family with me. And one of the things that is very hard and one of the challenges is when I don't have them with me because, I'm spending time away. I usually try to make it one day at minimum. I try to make it so that I'm gone for one full day and night and then I come back the next day. Sometimes it's longer than that, but that's like what I really try to do if I'm not bringing my family along. But one of the things that's gotten harder is as Olivia has gotten older, it's harder to bring her along because she needs like routine, like she needs an established routine. She needs to kind of like grow up and have some sense of like a normal life here. So that's definitely one of the highlights and also one of the challenges of what I do.
I just love, talking about our childhood experiences and how they, foreshadow what we're really meant to do. I also love looking at names and your last name, Steward. It's not Stewart, it's Steward. And that is just so beautiful in that you are a steward for this earth. You are a steward for helping create these beautiful stories to get people to to be immersed more even if it is armchair travel, armchair experience. At least you're giving them that, yeah, beautiful stories that you bring to us.
Yeah, it is cool. I love our name, and it's funny we named Olivia. Her middle name is Scout, which we just love too. So it's just yeah, I think
Really?
there is something to that. I always think it's interesting how people like pick names. I didn't pick Stewart, but like you pick a name, but eventually like the individual usually ends up embodying that name, and I think that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. Love that. All right. So The whole point of this podcast is to ask my guests for a profoundly moving experience in nature, that one that may have kind of pivoted them, maybe even did a 180 on their life path. I would love to hear if you have a story to share, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many times where where I've been out in nature and I have just this profound sense of connectiveness, if that's a word, with something greater than myself. And what's so interesting is like, there are the mountaintop moments, like literally last week, I think it was just last week, I climbed a mountain in Montana and it was just this like incredible mountaintop moment, literally, of just being on top of the world, just feeling so proud and inspired and feeling that accomplishment, kind of like what I experienced as a kid. But I think for me, the most powerful moments that I've experienced in nature are when I'm not on the mountaintop, but more so deep in the valley. Very, very, kind of moments of my life where I'm not in the best place, but where these experiences really help to elevate me, to comfort me, and a lot of times also, yeah, to pivot me. And one that really comes to mind was, let's see, it was probably around 2015, 16, somewhere in there. I After college, I created a television show called Rock the Park, which was very similar to what I'm doing now, but just in a very it looked a lot different. But I would go out into national parks and wild places with my best friend, and we would bring these experiences to people. The show was on ABC. We did 6 seasons of it. It was incredible. We won an Emmy-Award for Outstanding Travel Program. It was just an absolute dream job. Well, when that started, I was 23 years old, and I've been an individual my whole life that had struggled with self-image, with anxiety. I didn't really realize it was anxiety until later in life, but just kind of this lack of confidence of being able to trust myself, my decisions, having a strong sense of self and self-esteem. And I just struggled with that. I was always kind of like morphing into like who I thought people wanted me to be. And so but the constant in my life had always been this love of nature, a love of my family, even a belief in God. But I struggled. And so I got this dream job, and that instantly I grasped that and was like, all right, this is going to be my identity. I'm this television host now. And it didn't lead to fulfillment. I was going out doing my job, having the time of my life still with my best friend, traveling to amazing places around the country and the world. But still something was lacking. And we had won the Emmy Award our first season, which was incredible. And we were back for our second season and back at the Emmys. And so I remember sitting there and not yeah, just not in a good headspace. And I was 24 years old. I had drank too much alcohol. And I remember we lost, and it wasn't the losing of the award that prompted this. It was more so just this sense of just an emptiness in my life. I was telling a joke to my whole crew and our whole staff, and it was just not landing right. It wasn't anything like there was nothing like wrong with the joke, but it was just clear that I had had too much to drink. It just wasn't making a whole lot of sense. And my brother kind of like saved me from that. He kind of like diverted the attention away. And I remember I felt this sense of like being exposed and like just this humiliation, even though like it wasn't that big of a deal. Like in reality, like, everyone knew I'm this like 24-year-old kid. These are all people who know and love me. Like these are my good friends that are a part of this show and all that. But to me, it just felt horrible. And I remember, and that sort of drove me into this sort of like depression of just being like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I was living in Los Angeles. I was living with another best friend of mine, but I traveled so much that I didn't have a whole lot of friends of my own there other than him because I just wasn't rooted. I was always seeking a relationship. I was not the guy that had tons of girlfriends. I always wanted one, but I kind of lacked that confidence. But I wanted a relationship. I wanted a family of my own. And so I was just missing all of these things. And one of the things that I didn't realize I was missing was an authentic relationship with God. And so all of these things were unbeknownst to me, but I fell into this depression. I went out and I bought a journal. I was like, I'm going to start journaling. And so I did. And I started writing down some of these thoughts. I ended up writing, I think I wrote 26 full journals front to back in like 3 years. I ended up stopping journaling when Olivia was born because I just eventually I didn't have the time anymore. And honestly, I was in a better place where like I didn't need to write every day, but I have volumes of journals. And I remember one of the nights I was up at like midnight, just like really struggling. And I was writing out, I just realized like, okay, in the past, when I felt this way, I've gone out into nature and it had been forever since I'd done that for myself. I had been going all the time for my job, but I'd not done it for myself in years. Excuse me, I'm getting over another cold. That's the other thing. Having a kid, like it's just always sickness here. But I really loved Death Valley when we visited Death Valley. And so I thought to myself, well, Death Valley is this place I really connected with. It's a wilderness park, meaning like it's predominantly wilderness. It's trailless wilderness, meaning you just get the free range to explore and to wander. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to go out there. I'm going to bring I'm going to bring my Bible. I'm going to bring a journal. I'm not going to bring any alcohol. Because a lot of times, I would go out on these things and like it'd be nice to have a little sip of whiskey at the end of the night or whatever. Nothing crazy, but like this one, I was like, I'm just going to be completely sober, and I'm going to go and see what happens. And so I I went, and my plan was to wander around, do journaling, all of that stuff, and then sleep out on the desert floor. And I had actually never camped out alone before. I'd never done it fully alone. I'd always had my best friend with me. And so this was kind of a big deal, to finally do it by myself. And so had a great day of kind of wandering around. But again, I'm not in a great headspace, so I'm kind of like all over the place. Well, it comes time to go to sleep. It's getting dark, and I'm out on the desert floor, and I became just terrified of nothing specifically, just the unknown. Like, a place like Death Valley just has this like powerful presence to it. It's so grand and vast, yet at the same time, there's a mysterious quality to it. And I just was like overcome with fear while I was out there. And I tried to like turn it off and just like go to sleep. And I literally just had a bedroll out on the desert floor that I could zip up. I had actually done a lot of camping before, and I'd done a lot of camping under the stars, and I'd woken up with like rattlesnakes near me. So I knew this time, like I had this little bivy sack that you can zip up at least, so a snake couldn't like crawl into my sleeping bag. But anyway, I got up and I was like, I can't do this. I'm gonna try. I had a truck at the time, a rental, because my car was getting fixed. So I was like, I'm gonna at least sleep in the bed of the truck. So I crawled up in the bed of the truck. Same thing, couldn't do it. I was just terrified. And so eventually I was like, do I go home? I was like, it's like a 6-hour drive home. I could just like throw in the towel, give up. But then I was like, no, I can't do that. It's like late at night. I don't want to do that. So I crawled inside the truck and I slept in there. And I remember at the time thinking like, I'm a failure, like I failed at what I'm doing here. But at the same time, there was a relief. I felt safe being able to lock the door. And so I drifted off to sleep, and I woke up the next morning to the sun rising over the desert and over the mountains. And I looked out and I just felt this extreme sense of joy upon like waking up in the desert. Even though I ended up crawling into the car in the morning, I didn't have that sense of like shame or that feeling of failure. I had this sense of accomplishment and awe and wonder, seeing like the morning light all over the desert floor and casting shadows on the mountains. And I was just overcome with joy, a joy that I had not felt in a very long time. And so I crawled out of the car again. I just stood there. And the beauty of Death Valley, especially in the summertime, is in the morning, the temperature is just perfect. So you can stand out there and I'm out there without a shirt on because it was super hot at night, but now it's just perfect. And I'm just standing there and it's just like this like big hug that I was receiving. And it prompted me to continue for the next couple days. I said, you know what? I'm going to keep going. And so I wandered around the desert that day and I did what I set out to do. I would just kind of like hike up into a little area, a little gulch or, dry wash, sit down, I would journal, I'd read, I would continue. And eventually I ended up on this mountaintop and I was praying and just really asking for guidance. And I got this prompting that, I believe is from God. It was this overwhelming communication of just like, you've been here before. There have been all these moments in your life where you've had you've been doing your best. You're doing your best, but you know what? It's just not working anymore. You need to listen to me and we're gonna change course. And so I I said, okay, let's do it. I decided to take a step out personally into some areas that I had been kind of um, not wanting to do. I ended up joining this like young adults group through my church. I decided, you know what? I'm not going to just say I believe in God. I'm going to really dig into what that means. I want a real relationship. And so I started to do that. I started to dig into my faith, read, journal, pray, all of that stuff. And I received this just like mystical experience, I believe, from the Lord of just like, you're, this is it. Like, this is your moment to really become the person that I'm calling you to be. And so for the next 2 nights, I did the same thing. I camped out in the car. I didn't end up ever sleeping on the desert floor that time. And it was just this amazing experience of just peace and a sense of hope that I had not experienced in a long time. And long story short, I started to periodically, like once a month at least, going back to Death Valley or going out into these places for myself to really connect and to take care of myself and my soul and all that. And so where before, I would travel around for Rock the Park and then I'd fly home or whatever, I started to take these opportunities to go on these detours, whether it's on the way to where we're going or on the way back for myself. And it changed my life. I mean, since then, I entered
Yeah.
into therapy. I started working on what I learned was this anxiety. I, of course, really grew deeper in my faith. All of this led to me discovering my authentic self and finding confidence in who I am. And essentially, it has led to a much more fulfilling life, a life of purpose. I would not have met my wife if I hadn't have done this work. I wouldn't have my child. I certainly wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. And so it changed my entire life. And I'm so grateful for that experience. So that's certainly the one that really stands out to me. There are so many others, but that one was truly pivotal for me in my life.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Jack. It just it as so many of these beautiful stories that I share from others, it it brings us back to an I think in general a sense of belonging to something greater than our little lives make us feel. We're
Sure.
just a little we're just a little cog that is not important. And suddenly we realize that we're part of the whole. We're part of this amazing experience. And to have these pivotal moments and to actually take action, that is such a gift.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I've always been grateful for. I am somebody that for whatever reason, I take action, when things come up, I really yeah, I'm grateful for that because I know a lot of people that struggle to take action, that may be stuck and are yeah, just can't seem to get the wheels turning to make that change or whatever. And I'm grateful. I'm really grateful that I've been kind of given that quality. And so, yeah, it's just that was huge for me, and it continues to be when I get these promptings of what maybe I need to change or what I need to start doing differently.
Yeah. I mean, just that call to go to Death Valley on your own, just just to be, to follow that, to follow that prompting. What do you think it is about being out in the natural world and natural, beautiful environments that can open us in a way that we need to?
I think I think for one, these distractions are left behind, when you're out there, especially especially when you're doing something that requires you to be present. So and I think that's something to stress to people is like if you're really looking for change or you're looking to find some sort of inspiration, do something that is going to require you to be present. So for me, I was sleeping out there, right? And so I didn't have a hotel room to just like leave and go back to. And so it forced me to be present. It forced me to leave those distractions behind. Like I had no option. It was like, okay, I could have driven 6 hours and gotten home at 5 a.m. But um, so I think it's leaving those distractions behind that really opens us up to spending time with ourselves. A lot of people that's terrifying too. To me, I've always welcomed that. Maybe I'm just a glutton for punishment because like I'm kind of I'm a romantic, I'm an emotional guy. So like I find the beauty kind of in the dark moments. And so um I've always kind of run towards those, but I think that's one of them. The other thing is it's just this is whatever you believe in. For me, it's God. I mean, it's like this is where he's at. He's everywhere. But like when you get out into the stillness, like that's where you receive that divine presence in a new way because it's his creation. Like he loved it. And so to me, that's another aspect of why nature delivers these experiences is because there's just this connection between you and the divine that's just on another level than, sitting in a house or, wherever you happen to find yourself.
Right, right. It's I like the word unfiltered.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, obviously your experience was during this internet age with cell phones. Did you even have cell activity out there?
I did. So where I actually did. So where I camped out, there was cell service there, which actually I I was grateful for. To me, it was like, on this first especially this first time doing it, like safety is always, when I say like put yourself in a position where you're forced to live in the moment, you also have to take safety into account. And so having access to, be able to call for help or whatever was huge and comforting to me. So I did have cell phone service and I I think more than anything, especially nowadays, I think I think the cell phone thing it should be a discipline because these are very valuable tools. So for instance, nowadays when I go out and I do what I do, I have well, first of all, my phone allows me to text via satellite and all that. So I can always let Riley know my wife know what's going on. But then I also have this little backpackers satellite Starlink internet thing that allows me to stay connected everywhere I go. And that's huge to me because I'm able to stay in touch with my family, and when I'm gone, I can still talk to them and all that. But I see it as a discipline. It's like these are valuable tools. They really are, to be able for safety, connection, all those things, but to know when to turn it off. That's the important thing. And so I certainly have done plenty of that. I've certainly been in plenty of places where I didn't have the option of cell phone service either. So yeah, it's a good thing to unplug when you can, that's for sure.
Well, this has just been wonderful. And for any of your followers, they might be asking, where's Ellie?
Oh, she's right back here. She's lying down on the ground back here.
Ellie, can we see her?
Yeah, we can see her. Ellie, come here. Come here, girl.
She is so sweet, and what a companion.
Yeah, she's the best. Here, I'll lift her up.
Oh,
Cute Ellie.
so nice to meet you, sweetie. Oh,
Yeah, Ellie's the best. She's got just such an adventurous spirit. She's the most go with the flow and ready to go dog I've ever had. And we've had a lot of dogs throughout the years.
yeah.
I just find it amazing. Like, honestly, like she would follow me anywhere into the depths of a volcano. I mean, I built this box out of wood that I strapped to the back of my snowmobile. And the fact that she just like rides along in there, like while I'm like going over mountains and snow drifts and stuff, and she just like sits there. That's amazing. Like I've never had a dog just be so, I mean, she trusts me, and just so go with the flow, but also just eager to get out there. It's amazing.
It is so sweet to just see you driving with the snowmobile and her just tagging along like just.
I know, it's great. The one thing that is just like, it's the way life goes, but it's kind of sad. I just got back from a trip yesterday and I was doing a hike, and it was like a mile and a half with some minor elevation gain, nothing that crazy. And she was getting really tired. She's turning 10 in a month. I'm noticing that she's not quite able to do what she used to do. And so that's kind of a bummer, but it's the way it goes. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of sad, but she still is as gung ho as ever. I just think physically, it's getting a little harder for her. So we'll see what happens down the line. She'll always come along, but I may have to leave her in the cabin for some of these treks, some of these hikes and stuff, and that's okay too.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh, when she got a tick bite
Yeah.
and you had to bring her to the vet, it was like, oh my God.
Yeah, she's had multiple of those. We both had the same tick disease. So we share that.
Oh boy. Yeah. And that is unfortunate out in nature. It's one of those things that we have to be cautious about.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so excited that we got to have this talk today, Jack. And I just thought I'd like to leave you with any last words that you would like to share about our nature connection.
Yeah, my main thing, I think it goes beyond nature. I just think something that I've learned in my life is that if you have a passion, chase it, follow it, pursue it with everything that you have, because you never know what's going to happen in your life as a result of that. So for me, it's been both nature and storytelling. I grew up making movies for fun well before YouTube was a thing, before it was how it is today. I grew up going out into nature simply because I loved it, and I didn't film any of it and all of that. And it led me to some of these profound experiences, to doing what I love for a living. It's just been such a gift. So I would just say, if there's something you're passionate about, pursue it, go work hard at it. I think good things always come from hard work. And so if you're able to do that, and then also if you have this feeling of like, something's not working here. Reach out to somebody you trust or to a counselor or a therapist, and then see maybe what needs to change. And if you have this inclination to do something different, get out there and do it, give it a try, push yourself out of your comfort zone. You never know what's going to come from that. I certainly, my life has changed as a result of it. So.
Oh, that is wonderful. Just beautiful advice. And yeah, I'm always, even if you just take like a different route on the way home, you just never know what could be around the corner. Just taking that different route could change everything. You don't know.
Totally. It's very true.
Yeah. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. I am sure you did. And I would love if you would like, share, and subscribe, of course. And please comment if you have anything you would like to add to the situation here that we just discussed, and we will respond. So thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for being a part of the Enchanted Earth podcast. Please hit the subscribe button so that you'll know when we publish another inspiring episode. Check out my book, The Enchanted Earth, available wherever online books are sold. Thank you and have a magical day.